Hello, it's Jay here again and welcome to another tutorial. So before we continue on adding more features to our day-night cycle script, I thought it would be a good idea to actually handle some optimization. So that's what we're going to do in this video. So for those of you that's watched the dynamic weather tutorial, this will come as no surprise because we're going to do the exact same thing. And if we look at the dawn block, as you can see, at the moment we have these lines of code running all the time, and we don't really need to do that. So we're going to move them out into separate functions first. So I'm going to come here in between the dawn and the day, and we'll create a new void, and let's call this dawn, and we'll say sunlight manager. So we'll open and close brackets, we'll open and close again, we'll come inside, and what we're going to do is let's take these lines of code, these two if blocks that handle the sun intensity. So we'll cut those and we'll paste those in, and we'll just get rid of the empty line here. Let's come right at the very top and put the debug log in. So let's just copy and paste the naming convention in. And again, this line must come right at the very top. If you put it anywhere else in the function, it will not work. So right at the very top here. And what we're going to do is say if open brackets, we'll say get component, we'll get the light, we'll open and close brackets, dot intensity, double equals, and we want the dawn sun intensity. And we'll close brackets there. Actually, we don't close the line off. Let's get this into the comments. We'll say if light intensity is equal to dawn intensity, we'll come to the next line and we'll just say return, close the line off into the comments. And we'll put what we normally put, then do nothing and return. We'll come up here to dawn, and now we will call that function. Dawn sunlight manager, open and close the line off into the comments. Call, let's just copy the naming convention in. Dawn sunlight manager function. So let's just save that there for the moment. For those of you that haven't been through the weather tutorial series, I'll just explain how this works. So we call the function that we've just created, and then as normal it will just run the lines of code. So obviously now we've made a change. So when we enter the dawn state, if the light intensity does not equal dawn, it will just skip over these lines of code if it does not equal. It will then adjust the light intensity, and when it actually adjusts too far or hits the dawn sun intensity, then it makes it equal to the dawn's sun intensity, because it always overruns slightly when it adjusts. So when it does, we'll adjust it back to make it equal to the dawn sun intensity, just as before. But now when it comes back here and begins reading the block of code again, because this code is last where we make it equal to the dawn sun intensity, this line of code now becomes active because it is equal. It then says because it's equal, we don't need to continue on reading the rest of the function. We can just return because there's no longer a need to keep adjusting the light. So these lines of code are not read anymore. So it's just a great way to make sure that once the actual script has done adjusting the light intensity, then we'll say, you know, you've adjusted the intensity correctly. You don't need to do any more. You can just return. So a very simple but very effective way of optimizing code. And we'll continue on. And we'll say void, and let's give it a naming convention of Dawn Ambient Light Manager. Again, we'll open and close again. And let's copy this debug log in, and we'll swap out the naming convention. We'll paste that in there. We'll come below here. And let's just copy the first if block where we return. Let's copy that in. And we'll change out the variables that need to be changed. So this part here, we are now accessing the render settings dot ambient intensity. So there we go. And if it's equal to the dawn ambient intensity. So let's change out the comments. If we'll change light to ambient. If ambient intensity is equal to dawn. And let's just copy ambient in again. So we'll paste that in. We still do nothing and return. And we then come back to the dawn block. Let's cut those two if blocks. And we paste those in. And we don't really need to go over it again because it worked in exactly the same way as this function does. So let's just paste that in. Because we'll need to call that function just like we did with the other one, so it's actually active. So let's just copy in the naming convention function. In fact, I'll not bother with a separate line there. So let's save that out. So that is what we're now doing. We've done the dawn and we just need to repeat for the other three blocks. So let's continue on. And yeah, let's see what we can copy here. Let's copy those two blocks. Might make it a little bit easier. So let's paste those in. And we'll change that to day. Day sunlight manager. Let's change the debug log as well to day. And we'll continue on. So if it's equal to the day sun intensity. In fact, where are we? Let's have a look. So there we go. Let's just move that up. So day's right at the very top. So if days, yeah, if intensity equals day sun intensity, let's change the comment here. And let's just delete out these blocks. This might make things quite a bit easier. So let's change the void for the now needs to read day ambient light manager. We'll change out the debug log as well. It's equal to day. And let's just copy these as they are now. So no other code, just the return if blocks. And let's paste these in for dusk. Again, we'll change out the name And we'll change out the debug log. And let's go ahead and we'll change this to dusk sun intensity. Let's change the comment here. And we'll keep going. For the ambient light, we'll change that to dusk. The debug log and the variable here. And we'll change the comment there as well. And finally, let's do for night here. So we'll change that to night. And same here. Let's change out the debug log. And again here. Let's go through and change the variable. And what did we use for night? Let's come back up. Let's just copy that naming convention there. We'll scroll back down. So let's change the comment here. And we want to change this to night. And we'll change the comment. So now we have the void set up with the if blocks in place. So let's come back now to day. So these three blocks here, let's move it so they're right at the very top. So let's have a look. Oh, need to change this into the ambient light manager. We'll change that today as well. So now the return blocks are in place, we can just cut the relevant code. So for the light, we'll cut that. We'll paste that in. And the same for the ambient light. Let's paste that in as well. So we'll come back to the day block, and we need to do the same thing. We need to actually call those functions. So day sunlight manager, open and close, will close the line off, and day ambient light manager, open and close, will close the line off. Let's get rid of that unnecessary line. So we'll just say call, and we'll say function, come to the next line, call function, and let's just copy and paste in those new naming conventions. So let's paste that one in, and we'll paste this one in. So where are we here? Paste that in, and that's day done. Let's come to dusk again. I'll move it so it's right at the very top. Let's cut for the light, paste in, we'll get rid of the empty line. We'll cut for the ambient. Let's paste that one in as well. And we'll call them functions. So we'll say dusk, sunlight manager, open and close, close the line off. Dusk, ambient light manager, same thing, open and close the line off. And let's get the comments in. Call, we'll just put in call function. And then we'll copy and paste the naming conventions in again. So dusk sunlight manager, dusk ambient light manager. And we've nearly done now. We just have night to do. So let's go ahead and we'll cut for the light. Let's paste that in, and we'll also cut for the ambient. and we'll paste that in as well. And finally, we just need to call them functions. So night sunlight manager, open and close the line off. Night ambient light manager, open and close the line off. And again, let's get this into the comments. Core function, and the same again for here. And let's just copy and paste in those naming conventions. And that's it, we're done. Let's save this off. So as I said, this is exactly the same thing we did in the other series, so it will have come as no surprise for most of you, but for those of you who haven't followed the other series, I hope this has been helpful. There is actually a lot more we can do in terms of optimization, in terms of things like this, getting the light component every time and such like. But we'll handle all that in future upcoming videos. But I think we'll leave it here for today. As always, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope to see you next time. And until then, as always, bye for now.